Hey, so apparently we need to talk about Ukraine. And as your TikTok's resident history teacher, I just want to give you a little bit of historical context to explain why this is in no way new or surprising to anyone who studies history. I'm going to attempt to cover this in 3 minutes. I'm going to divide Ukrainian history into three eras. It's going to be Soviet Union, post-Soviet Union. Sorry. So pre-Soviet Union, it's important to understand that Ukraine as a nation and as a state has been around since the 1000s. In fact, in the 1000s, 1100s, 1200s, the Kievan Rus, that empire, was the largest and most important state in all of Europe during the late Middle Ages, but it's going to get conquered by the Mongols. The other thing to understand is that Ukraine, whether it was a small state or a bigger empire, has always been in this murky kind of black hole of Eastern Europe, where it is constantly fighting for its life between big powers like Russia, the Ottoman Empire, and then the growing power of Western Europe. Throughout the 15, 16, 17, 1800s, Ukraine is going to be fought over by many different powers. Again, the Ottomans, they want to take Crimea, this little peninsula that sticks out into the Black Sea, but Russia wants that as well. You also have this powerful kingdom of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Essentially what ends up happening is by the 1800s, Ukraine is effectively split. They're divided up between Russia and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. And this is going to be an issue because in Ukraine, there is from this moment on this growing east-west divide, where in the eastern part of Ukraine, you see the vast majority of people consider Russian their native language, whereas in the western part, it's Ukrainian. In the eastern part, they're mostly Orthodox Christians like in Moscow and in Russia. But in the West, a lot of them converted to this kind of Ukrainian form of Catholicism that was introduced by the Poles and the Lithuanians. The evidence of this divide is that when we get to World War I, Ukrainians enter the war on both sides. Some Ukrainians fight with Austria and other Ukrainians fight with Russia. So it's sort of a mess. Essentially, though, yada, 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 during World War I, we have the Russian Revolution that establishes the Soviet Union. There's also this little brief moment of a few years where Ukraine, in the wake of World War I, is like, are we independent? Because the Ottoman Empire has collapsed, other states have collapsed. They try to create some independent state, but they can't really agree on what that's going to be. And by 1921, effectively, they're taken over by the Soviet Union, and they become a satellite state or a state within the Soviet Union, kind of controlled from Moscow. Of course, I couldn't do this in just one video. Follow for part 2. I'll post it right away. Ukraine under Soviet rule, and then in either part 2 or part 3, Ukraine in the 21st century.